Is there a blinking? Okay. Alright. Hi folks, I'm Dave from JustTheOtherDave on YouTube and Instagram. And
alright, that was good. Restart because I laughed when you started talking. It's okay.
I'm Dave from JustTheOtherDave on YouTube and Instagram, and I'm borrowing Mike's channel, LifeOfMike, to do a bike build. It's kind of a special build for us. You know, normally Mike likes to find, you know, beat up salvage bikes, or not salvage, but bikes that you can restore, ride, sell. You know, it's a little fun in the garage. You know, a little fun on the road. But this one is special. This is my 2013 Triumph Bonneville special edition. What's different about this one is this one was actually a salvage. It was actually totaled in an accident. I went motorcycle camping, and we went up to Barber Motorsports Park for their big vintage festival. It's the biggest collection of vintage motorcycles at one festival, and it's the biggest motorcycle museum on earth. So we went up, me and a couple buddies, we rode up 3 days up, camping, you know, finding the nightlife in different towns, all back roads, no interstates. And we did the camping and the museum and all the events, the swap meets, the races through the weekend. And on the way back, the first night, we were half an hour from our camping ground, and I hit a deer. So, middle of nowhere, in the woods. Thankfully, you know, I had friends with me. I was in the middle of the group, so it was kind of odd that, you know, I was the guy. But we were spread out enough, you know, it was starting to get dark, and we were in the winding mountain roads, you know, great for riding, bad for riding at night. One of my buddies, he was totally, like, missed the whole thing. He was gone, like, around the corner, like, where is everybody? And the other one was back far enough that he didn't actually see it. He just saw my tail light go off the road, spinning around, and he was like, oh boy. But I got lucky, and I was prepared. I had a helmet, I had gloves, I had motocross boots, Kevlar jeans, a jacket with armor. I mean, everything you could possibly wear. And also there was a car following us. It happened to be a nurse, and it was across the street from a fireman who walked over barefoot to see what happened, you know. So I was going about 45, and all I see is a deer coming out of the woods to my right, and I think, well, he's coming towards the road. Maybe I should, like, and this is like a split second, like maybe I should reach for the brakes. About that time, the deer had run and pretty much clipped, like, I didn't hit him like square on, and he didn't hit me in the side. It was kind of like we converged at the same time right at the front of my bike. Yeah, so you can tell, like, the forks, of course they're bent, but they're also bent a little off to the side. Yeah, the turn signal's loose. There's what's left of the fender. There's bits of deer fur stuck in it, and some in the tire. It actually popped off the rim, so there's deer fur in there. It doesn't hold air anymore. Bent headlight brackets. Crumpled the headlight bucket, handlebars, of course. So once the deer had hit it, it kind of, you know, when you turn the front end of the bike, it leans. So when you turn the front end of the bike all the way at that speed, the bike hit the ground, and the bike went that way so hard that it threw me off the road to the right, but the deer and the momentum carried the bike and the deer off the road to the left. When the bike hit the ground, it bent the handlebars hit the tank. It did a whole lot of spinning on the asphalt. I had a slider up here, and I had some bags because I was camping. I had all kinds of bags. But the saddle bag on the side kept the whole bike off the ground, so the only damage was the slider, the tank, and the front end. So when I first, you know, like, my next moment of realization after what I should grab the handlebars was staring up at the sky and the stars, were starting to come out. And I thought I was totally fine. It felt all right. And I didn't have 2 seconds, 3 seconds before the girl's getting out of her car, running over, and Mark, who's got off his bike, and they're like, don't move, don't do anything. I'm like, I'm fine, nothing hurts, it's fine. And then I like start to sit up and I'm like, I don't feel so good. You can see there's one mirror on the left. The right side mirror, I went off the bike and took that mirror off. It's a half-inch thick piece of steel. I removed that mirror, sheared it off with my collarbone, so I broke my right clavicle. Got plate and screws put in later. Oh yeah, I burned through. I had a mesh jacket with a hard plastic armor, but it was nothing bad about mesh jackets or hard armor. I definitely destroyed the jacket. The armor was fine, but it was from when Dave was a little bit larger, and so the jacket didn't fit, and so the armor rotated around, and I slid on this part of my arm just a little bit. So I got some scars. Give them a couple years, they might be gone. Yeah, the usual ambulance ride. You're in shock, you don't feel anything kind of deal. So after the whole hospital cleared me, all kinds of X-rays, and they didn't actually find broken bones at first, but you go to orthopedic, you go to specialists, check you out more. So the insurance. I had Progressive. They were super great to deal with. They pretty much took care of everything for me, and I didn't have to know what I was doing. They asked all the right questions. They sent a guy. I had family with a trailer collect the bike off the side of the road. They brought it to my house. Progressive sent a guy to my house to look at the bike, to take pictures. Poor guy took 2 hours to catalog everything that was damaged, because he was like, the value of the bike and the cost of the repairs were like dollar for dollar. He's like right on the edge of should it be totaled, I don't know. So finally they decided they were going to total it, they paid for a pretty good fair value of the bike, like what I could have bought the bike used if I had gone and bought it like retail used, so like the maximum used value of the bike. They paid for all of my protective gear. So you think, oh, wearing protection is expensive. Well, if you use it, it's free, because I had accessory coverage, which it costs, a tiny bit extra. They paid for the sliders. They paid for any like aftermarket steering damper. The thing needs a little bit of paint, they paid for my Olin suspension. They paid for all of my bags and camping gear, even the stuff that survived. So I maxed out the accessory coverage. So all in all, like, good experience with insurance, and it's unfortunate they were going to total it out, and that really was heartbreaking. But to buy it back as salvage was like $1,700. So since I could reuse some of my accessories, and maybe I didn't even want some of the aftermarket stuff anymore after having played with it, that I was, confident that I could buy the parts, and repair it myself for less than what they thought it would cost to repair. And so I think all in all, buying back the bike and buying the parts of the bike, I'm still less than what the insurance paid me. Alright, so now we're going to go over a little more in detail the damage and how we're going to repair it, and really looking forward to getting this thing back on the road. So up here, gear hit the front tire right about here. So broke pretty much. I took the deer right in the middle. Broke the front fender. I got tufts of deer hair in the remaining cracked piece of fender. Knocked the turn signal right off the stem, yanked it out. Didn't break the headlight, surprisingly. It dented the bucket pretty good. Broke the chrome and made it rust. The windscreen is toast. I don't know if that's from asphalt. It must be the way it's scraped. I already took the gauges off because one of them was obliterated. Folded the gauge bracket, and the other one was cracked enough that it wasn't staying in place. Handlebars bent. I talked about the mirror that I took out. The brake fluid was here. So the gas tank, when the bike hit the ground, the handlebars came all the way around. And I had a tank bag. And it had like some flaps with magnets that went around it. And it was a big tank bag. And so it came like that. And the tank bag was just enough to cushion it where it didn't like hard punch a sharp dent in it. Which is actually better for pulling dents. You don't want a really sharp dent. But having 2 dents from different parts of the handlebars is a challenge for sure. The bike slid, it mangled this slider pretty good. It may have scratched the brake pedal, but it definitely shaved off. This thing didn't fold, it was slid that way, and so it killed the end of the foot peg. Passenger foot peg is gone, totally gone. But the saddlebag kept this part of the bike pretty off the ground. So there's just a little scuff on that, and these are black because I did that myself in a parking lot. So, I mean, before I painted them black, I covered it up the first time. Just kind of replacing the front end almost would take care of most of it. Headlight brackets, forks. So I think that's the plan of attack. Alright, so over here we have sort of the big items, new forks, about $1,000 maybe. I got some cool vintage style scrambler handlebars. These are actually really close to what the stock bars were, plus this cool curve thing in the middle, so not much of a huge change there. This was a super lucky Craigslist find from a guy who was working on building a custom Triumph. He had a couple tanks in different colors, and it changed his mind about what he was doing, and so he was selling this one. Rare cranberry red fender was also a lucky find on eBay. Cheaper than buying a new fender from Triumph in any color, and you can't even buy that color. So
Are those custom beer cans?
Yeah, we're still looking for a beer sponsor. Don't look at the brands here. They didn't pay us for this yet. Boxes of parts, some that I already had taken off the bike when I was customizing it. I got the original side covers. I got the original grab bar, but I'm going to keep the luggage rack and just paint it again. Original headlight, so I got a bucket for it. There's hoses, brakes, calipers, mirrors. So some of that came off eBay, and in the back room I have more stuff that we really don't even need. I got extra rims I got for a good deal on for putting dirt tires on, and a few other things. So I think the whole front end plus the factory parts that I took off, and we should be good. Alright, for starters, no project is ever without its setbacks. The motorcycle jack, you know, super cheap from Harbor Freight, great purchase, used a lot, but it leaks oil. Now it's leaked down just about all of its oil, and it won't jack the bike up, and we need it off the ground so that we can take the front end off without it flipping over. You know, custom speed tape to hold the rubber pads on. So I got some jack oil with stop leak. You ought to replace the seals on a bad jack, but you know, if this doesn't fix the problem, then I'll worry about it. But this is way cheaper. By the time you replace the seals, you could have bought a new jack. Alright, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull this plug. Just a rubber plug. And so I just put oil in it until the oil comes out. I'm sure there's directions that I threw away a long time ago. All that really matters here is that your jack goes all the way up and doesn't have air in it. Doesn't have room for air now. Woo! So this jack's got some custom modifications, namely that I took the handle off. You can get it up under cars and trucks and stuff without the handle to push it around. What's great about tube frame bikes is you don't have to have any special stands. You don't have to have spools or a magic jack for them. So all I have to do is get the jack mostly under it. I probably don't even have to tilt it up, but whole bike's off the ground. It's all on the jack now. And I may make it to whichever notch I decide I like best to stop it at, and the safety mechanism of the jack will hold it there. So I think the next notch is probably as high as I like. I may have to lower it back down because I may want to, once we get the front end loose, I may want to lift it off of the front, lift the bike off the front end rather than drop the front end off the bike. Blocks of wood are also good for this kind of thing, or cinder blocks, whatever makes the right height. Alright, so what we're going to do first is we're going to strip off all the accessories on the front end, windshield, headlights, indicators, regulator, brackets, handlebars, controls. Strip all that down, take the axle out, drop the wheel off. We want to have as little weight as possible, so we get down to just the tubes. We take the clamp bolts out, pull the fork tubes down, and then we'll take the triple clamps, undo the steering stem nut, and pull them out. And then we'll have just the bike with no front end. Alright, so just an update, we got all the accessories, handlebars, controls, fork tubes out. Had to, this is kind of a little warped, not quite straight, so we had to hammer the fork tubes out through the holes. Old Dave done blew a hole through his underwear, about 8 layers of cotton. I put a socket up against the top of the fork tube to protect it, and the socket cut through it. So I mangled it up pretty good, but it's trash anyway. Gotta take the brake off, get these wires tucked out of the way, remove the clamps and the steering stem. You can see that like they're not even on the same plane. One's tipped that way, one's tipped this way. So it'll be interesting to see when we get it cleared, going to get a straight edge, start looking to make sure the bike is square, the frame is square.
So are any of these parts usable still?
You know, a lot of this turn signal brackets, things like that, you could probably straighten out. This
I know we're gonna use this still. That was just ignition, some electronics that fell off.
Ignition switch, axle, a lot of the clamps,
the support there.
Pieces, yeah.
Yep.
So.
Of course, the steering damper.
Steering damper, yeah. And this brace is, you know, it's a bent piece of sheet metal. It's a little slightly extra bent, but I can straighten it out with a pair of pliers. The mirror's good. So, it's about 50-50. But I have most of the front end parts in one piece off eBay, so it should be pretty simple.